After studying the concept of budget line and indifference curve, now we are in the position to understand the concept of consumer equilibrium with the help of indifference curve analysis. This analysis is our ordinal utility analysis or approach, and it is also known as the Hickesian analysis of demand. Professor Hicks का ये concept था जिसमें कि हम utility को with order we can arrange and we can find it out the consumer equilibrium. Let us start. Before understanding, let us discuss about the condition of the consumer equilibrium in case of indifference curve approach. The conditions are here: the marginal rate of substitution should be equal to the price ratio, that is the px by py. This is the first condition, that the marginal rate of substitution, the rate at which in order to gain an additional unit of x, how much the additional unit of y the consumer is satisfying, should equal to the ratio of px by py. Or we can say that the delta y divided by delta x should be equal to px by py. This is the first condition. And the second condition is that marginal rate of substitution must be diminishing as consumption of x increases. These are the two conditions for the consumer equilibrium. इनको थोड़ा हम समझते हैं with one diagrammatic explanation. यहाँ पे हमने एक डायग्राम ले लिया to understand the concept better. See, on the y-axis we have taken the commodity y. On the x-axis we have taken the commodity x. This is our budget line, that is the, say suppose A and B, AX and BX is our budget line, and we have three indifference curve: indifference curve 1, indifference curve 2, indifference curve 3. Now some of the points I have taken. Let us try to understand. Whether the consumer anyway chooses B combination, क्या वो कभी B combination choose करेगा? No, he will never chooses the B combination. Why? It is below the budget line. उसके पास और budget है. He can spend his whole budget so that he can be in the equilibrium position. वो अपने full satisfaction में रहेगा. क्या वो कभी A combination को adopt करेगा? No, क्योंकि A में अगर वो लेता है, he has to spend a higher amount, उसको पूरे पैसे खर्च करने पड़ेंगे, but he will get the equal satisfaction as in the case of B. So A combination में भी वो कभी satisfy, वो कभी भी consumer equilibrium नहीं होगा. क्या वो D में होगा कभी? No, वो D में भी consumer, he will never reaches to the consumer equilibrium point because it is not in his budget. So the consumer equilibrium will be at point C, where the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. This is a point where the C point में क्या है? The slope of the budget line, the slope of the budget line, that is the Px or by Py is equal to the slope of indifference curve, that is MRS is equal to delta y by delta x, and this is the point of consumer equilibrium. The consumer equilibrium is the point where the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. Here the consumer will get the maximum level of satisfaction. After understanding the concept of consumer equilibrium through the diagram, हम उसको और थोड़ा सा डिटेल में देखते हैं. We have seen in the diagram that the consumer will reaches to the consumer equilibrium where the price ratio is equal to the marginal rate of substitution. Let us see in more detail that what will happen if some exceptional cases are there. Say suppose in the first case I have taken where the price ratio is less than the marginal rate of substitution. That means the consumer is willing to sacrifice more than required in the market अगर हम ऐसा लेते हैं कि लेट अस सपोज कि हमारा x का प्राइस जो है, जो x और y का, x का प्राइस है px हमारा ₹3 है एंड py इज ₹1. सो px by py कितना हो जाएगा? दैट इज द 3:1. एंड अगर हम लिए लेते हैं कि ये ज्यादा है 4:1. 4:1 is suppose our marginal rate of substitution. That means what? The consumer is willing to substitute more of y in order to gain an additional unit of x. x को पाने के लिए, x का additional unit consume करने के लिए consumer y का 4 यूनिट जो है वो सैक्रिफाइस कर रहा है, जबकि यहाँ पे क्या है 3 यूनिट सैक्रिफाइस प्राइस रेशियो के अकॉर्डिंगली. अगर हम कंज्यूमर इक्विलिब्रियम की बात करें तो 3 हमें सैक्रिफाइस करना था टू गेन एन एडिशनल यूनिट ऑफ x. 3 यूनिट ऑफ y विल बी सैक्रिफाइस टू गेन एन एडिशनल यूनिट ऑफ x. Therefore, he is getting more satisfaction from the x unit. So, in order to come to the equilibrium level, the consumer will, since he is getting more satisfaction from x, so he will consume more of the x commodity and law of diminishing marginal utility यहाँ applicable होगी. जैसे जैसे वो x का यूनिट ज्यादा से ज्यादा कंज्यूम करेगा, ultimately he will reaches to the position where the 3:1 will be equal to the 3:1 and that will be the consumer equilibrium point. So what will happen when the px by py is less than the MRS? The consumer will derive more satisfaction from x and therefore he will consume more of the x commodity till then that MRS is decreases and will become equal to px by py. इसके इक्वल तक जब तक नहीं आता है, x ज्यादा से ज्यादा कंज्यूमर कंज्यूम करेगा so that he will reaches to the equilibrium position. Now in the second case हम देखेंगे px by py is greater than MRS. Now what we have to do, we have, यहाँ पे हम देखेंगे कि अब स्थिति थोड़ी उल्टी हो गई. दैट मीन्स अब एक कंज्यूमर को एक यूनिट x को कंज्यूम करने के लिए उसको 2 यूनिट सैक्रिफाइस करना है, जबकि हमें उसको इंक्रीज करना है 3:1 में. दैट मीन्स अब उसको x का जो सेटिस्फैक्शन लेवल है वो कम हो गया है. Now, what we have to do? We have to increase the marginal rate of substitution. To increase the marginal rate of substitution, अब क्या करना है हमें? हमें अब x का being a rational consumer, अगर वो इक्विलिब्रियम लेवल में आना चाहता है तो वो x का कंजम्पशन लेवल जो है वो कम कर देगा. जैसे ही x का कंजम्पशन लेवल कम कर देगा तो MRS will automatically increases. अगर हमारा टेबल याद है तो नीचे की तरफ आने की जगह अब वो ऊपर जाएगा, उसको एक स्टेप ऊपर जाना है. एक स्टेप ऊपर जाने से he has to decrease the consumption of the x एंड यहाँ पे लॉ ऑफ डिमिनिशिंग मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी का एप्लीकेबल होगा कि अगर डिमांड कम हुआ तो ऑफ कोर्स उसकी यूटिलिटी जो है वो इंक्रीज हो जाएगी और वो तब तक एमआरएस को इंक्रीज करेगा जब तक कि वो प्राइस रेशियो के बराबर ना हो. सो इन दिस वे द कंज्यूमर विल रीचेस टू द इक्विलिब्रियम. अगेन आई एम रिपीटिंग, टू gain the equilibrium position, the conditions are the slope of the budget line should be equal to the slope of indifference curve, that is the px by py should be equal to the delta y by delta x, where the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. This is all about the consumer equilibrium ordinal approach, indifference curve approach.